Tá anhaid ar fádróibh an seo trónach an ócáid. Ócáid speisialta seo tá mé ceappa seachas Dúrach Oscailt Taspátas. You're very welcome to this very special occasion here this evening. It's a lot more than just an exhibition opening, I think. There is a real and genuine sense of occasion. There always is when Gertrude Degenhardt comes to Galway, I must say. And it's especially true of this exhibition. We've been happily working with this lady for some 25 years now, and with her husband Martin, and they're always very welcome. And anybody that livens up the walls of this place like this is really particularly welcome. And I have to say that it's a great pleasure to have here with us to open the exhibition a man who has distinguished himself in many areas in the arts, in film, in photography, in writing, and on the Arts Council indeed, and in lobbing occasionally little hand grenades into the status quo here. So to open the show, it's a great pleasure to welcome Bob Quinn.
I'd actually go also in waffle out, screen a sheet in Portugal raw. Because a fortnight ago, I think I opened an exhibition as well, and
a little louder, please.
A little
Louder.
louder. All right. I fear waffling. I waffle terribly, so I wrote down these things, and I'm going to read them to you. And if you see my eyes lifting from the page, you will know I'm waffling, and you may say waffle, waffle, waffle. All right. Waffle, waffle. Last year I was guest editor of Force 10, and I asked Martin and Gertrude to supply me with an illustration, and they sent me a beautiful etching of a lady playing the violin with an immensely long arm down here and a long dress. It was a picture of elegance, but they sent it to me because they wanted, and I wanted the title, How Elegance Came into Irish Music. And it illustrated to me their vicious sense of humour. And I put it in the paper, and I see two versions of it here as well. One a beautiful brush drawing upstairs, and another the etching itself. Because in that picture I saw sentimentality, genteel turn of the century drawing room sentimentality, Thomas Moore type sentimentality, and all the impersonations that made traditional music the turn-off was years ago, and the sexy thing it is today. Although nowadays I think the girl would be wearing a pussy powder. So it reminded me of this dangerous sense of humour Gertrude has, which is what attracts me to her work. And she doesn't just apply it to the world, she applies it to us. We should be delighted that she includes us in the human race. Because make no mistake, now my eyes are down. This woman is not just talking about Stiddle and Galway, she's talking about the human race, exposing us to our absurdity and reminding us of one of our few redeeming features as human beings, music. And I use the word talking intentionally because Degenhardt's pictures speak to me volumes. I see stories, epiphanies, snatches of conversations, tragedies, jokes, nonsense rhymes, dirty limericks, and poetry in all of them. And after a session of them, I'm left, this is not waffle, I actually memorized this, and after looking at these pictures, a session of I'm left silent. And I'm wondering how any stranger could have such an insight into our psyche. And then I remembered that, oh yeah, we're human as well. And she's included us and is showing us what it is to be human. I imagine her sitting years ago like a mouse in the corner of Hughes's pub, antennae vibrating, eyes absorbing everything, the only noise, her needle scratching on copper or her pencil dancing over paper. But I also imagine the noises that touched her, the silence of the afternoon pub, the sighs of solitary drinkers, the wind when the door let in company, then the rising tide of drinkers, garrulous conversations, curses, screeching fiddles, imprecations, threats, quartets, quintets, 20-tets sometimes, tin whistles, out-of-tune guitars, brass intrusions, melodeons, roaring arguments, gusts of laughter, yelps of dogs, hawking coughs, the splat of spits, indignant bar stools, the hush at the start of a solo, then the growing murmur of sound until the solo was drowned out, and above all, laughter, and then the wind, boldly, Shanna Goran. I came to Connemara about the same time as Gertrude and Gertrude, he pronounces his German is better than mine. Gertrude and Martin.
That's all my German, by the way.
Not too good. And it must have been as much a shock to her as to me. And for years I've looked at her pictures in amazement, wondering how she could show what I thought only I could see. There were no pretty landscapes here, no Paul Henry nonsense. She saw the people, teams of them, vibrant, alive, loud, unreserved, talking 20 to the dozen, drinking, dancing, singing, arguing, fighting, with an urgency and a vitality that neither I nor she could have experienced before, except in the performance of music. And these people were not desiccated, they lived operatically. And I'm sure you're saying, she's seeing things in the pictures that aren't there at all. And it's true. I am seeing and hearing Connemara in all of Gertrude's work, which is why I delight in it, frankly. You know, because she's one of the few people that show me Connemara as I have seen it for 30 years. And they're kind of, I think I used this phrase a fortnight ago, they're cunningly devised Rorschach ink blot tests. Ink blots. And they're amenable to the wildest speculation. Now, all good pictures are, by the way. But the serious thing is Degenhardt is also a documentarist. What I see in her work is a chronicling of the sea changes of the past 20 years. And for want of a better word, I call it the feminization of the Irish pub. In her Farewell to Connaught series, some of you may remember long ago, this was an all-male world, apart from the Mother Earth presence of Rita Hughes or Mary Bergen, who were always there. Men could behave badly, trusting each other not to tell. They could drink 13 pints, spilling a few more, balance them on their heads, weep into them, share them with rodents and predatory seagulls, tell their life stories to complete strangers, tell more to nobody in particular, invoke God and then take his name in vain, believe they were birds, lead imaginary charges on invincible enemies and just in case carry a white flag. Alternately, swear undying loyalty and hatred to each other, utter terrible curses at the world, then say, shouldn't see like it's giving and demonstrate impossible tricks with chairs. Have another, and then another. Defy the force of gravity, dance like fairies, sing like crows, threaten with shushes, without the slightest trace of self-consciousness, and laugh like demons, and no women around to tut-tut or give them that look, or drag them home protesting. It was a male paradise, except for the cold stumble home in the rain. And Gertrude heard the notes of desperation in their laughter, and for a while averted her eyes. She was at her most explicit in this, I think, in the Vagabondage ad Mortem. Those were some pictures, I think, of skeletons playing and dancing as if there was no tomorrow, and there probably wasn't. But where could she go after that? So women began to take over her pictures. The Vagabondage in Blue series. Wild women on the warpath banging drums, and probably bin lids as well. Women celebrating, behaving defiantly in contortions, in quartets, in impossible postures. And then, she took pity on the men. Brought them all together in quartets. She went baroque, as distinct from ballistic. But this was a woman's world of music. There were new rules. The men must occasionally listen, eat the odd meal, put on a bit of weight, dress a little more carefully. And then she returned to Hughes. She was still seeing the same thing, but she introduced the shadle into the Irish pub. Shadle, we all know, means the softening. Men must no longer go mad like scarecrows on solo runs. Unless they were Mick Mulcahy, the painter, whom I saw in tights last year, doing a Nijinsky in Hughes's book. I rescued him as well, and I regret it. So finally, Gertrude has decided men and women can coexist. And this exhibition is the wedding feast. And I think Tom actually mentioned something about a wedding or something in this. Anyway, I came across this independently. I said, this is the wedding feast. And the cold desperation of Farewell to Connaught is just a memory. The harshness of those unforgettable dry point etchings has been replaced by tender, subtle brush strokes. This is the shade room. Life is softer here, and Gertrude has become kinder. There's desperation still, hysteria, abandon even, and who wouldn't be intimidated by where is she? Millie the Tit, she's upstairs. But the sections are no longer miles apart. The music is the key thing, has brought them together. They prop each other up, drunk and sober, and that's as it should be. They still play with themselves, of course. But they play with the women too. And the women play with them. There's a lovely one here, Deux à Deux, I think you pronounce it. Oh, it's beautiful. There's duets and quartets and whatever you have in yourself. Men are in the majority, of course, still, as you can see. They're changing. Now, I think actually the whole history of the evolution of the last 20 years is in these pictures, if you look hard enough. And I noticed something else about these new men. They engage in the same gravity-defying calisthenics, but there's a self-consciousness about them, I feel, that wasn't there 20 years ago. They almost seem to be performing, aware of the audience, performing cartwheels for the girls, maybe, or maybe even for the tourists. And sometimes they're balletic. There's a different kind of desperation in these pictures, quieter kind. It may be grace under fire, or as we say, Bishop and Bosch, the last hopeful gasp. Either they've changed or Gertrude has, perhaps both. I suspect she has become closer to them now, understands them better, understands their different kind of desperation. She's noted the effect of elegance on them. I think sometimes that they may have been river dance, the men, the subjects, the people of her paintings 20 years ago, and she's seen this, I think. If I may just diverge to diverge to something Frankie Gavin told me years ago about Michael Flatley's first appearance at the White House, and there were these guys who were speaking into their hands at the corner of the stage about this guy with blonde hair and tights, with a dangerous looking character. And so when he pounced out onto the stage like that, the two special branchmen flattened him. And Frankie didn't tell me this, but I know that Flatley, for revenge, took his revenge by inventing Lord of the Flies and dedicating it to Bill Clinton. Or it's just, I'm sure it is. I'm reading too much into brush strokes. I'm reading too much into brush strokes, I know. But these pictures really get my imagination going. And whatever it is that's happened in the last 20 years, Gertrude Degenhardt has pinned it down. She's a visual anthropologist, and fair play to her. She's a cast of thousands, and you're probably all in these pictures if you look very carefully. And one thing I haven't overtly referred to, and that is the sheer genius of this artist. Really, I find it incredible. And I don't have to really, you look around, but it's the monumentum requiri circum specie. That's the Christian Brothers education coming out of me. So we're lucky that the Degenhardts have adopted Galway as their second home. We're lucky the Kennys have adopted the Degenhardts, or maybe it was a mutual arrangement. And I just want to issue a warning to Tom Kenny and Martin Degenhardt the next time they're discussing business. Because in a few years' time there's going to be a 5-colour etching of the pair of them. Because Gertrude is always watching. And now officially I declare to God that this exhibition is officially open.
Thank you very much, Bob. And if I may just say one or two points, please. There are music and pints in these exhibitions. The pints, the wine, etc. is available. The music, which is coming from Anne and Joe Burke, who are happily here with us, will be starting in a moment. The exhibition is on 2 levels, and if I can just say that the prints are all in editions. There are copies of the prints available. Don't please be terrified by 2 or 3 stickers on them. And if you feel like being a Degenhardt image, please feel free. Thank you very much for your attention. For real honor.